Lately, I've been getting some questions from you guys about how to honor the unique style of your homes. How to decorate in a way that honors its history but doesn't feel like an awkward time capsule. A lot of us live in older homes but want them to be appropriate for today's lifestyle. So, let's explore how to strike that balance between respecting your home's architecture while giving it a contemporary twist. So, should the architectural style of your home dictate what is inside? My take on this is no, at least not 100%. There are so many houses out there that are a certain style, but the owner appreciates something completely different and they make it work quite tastefully. Like Alison Allen's 110-year-old Minneapolis home. You can see that she has taken quite a contemporary approach in her furnishings, but retained the classic structure of the building. The key here is that her modern pieces don't overpower the historic elements. They complement them by keeping the lines clean and the color palette simple. And then there's people who do the complete opposite, like Philip Mitchell here. You'll never guess that this apartment was located in a typical downtown apartment block from just looking at the interior photos, with all the molding and millwork he's added in. Here's what the other units look like, just your typical boxy apartment unit. Yet, by sticking to a consistent theme, he's created an elegant space that feels cohesive despite the mismatch. In fact, mixing of styles like this is very common all over Europe. Take a second look inside any Italian palazzo or French houseman style apartment. A lot of them have super modern interiors, don't they? The facade and interior stairwell may be super old and historic with beautiful details, but as soon as you enter the apartment, there's flat panel cabinetry in the kitchen and a modern sink and contemporary tiles in the bathroom. Maybe there's people out there telling you that your interior has to follow the exact architecture of your home. That a mid-century modern home has to have mid-century furnishings, or a colonial home has to have traditional 18th century furniture. But let's be real for a second. Life is complicated and it's not as simple as buying a house in the exact style you like and in the precise location you're after. In most cases, your home style is dictated by your budget and location. So, there's no point being a purist and forcing yourself to decorate in a certain way just because that is the style of your home's architecture. You don't have to restrain yourself that way. But what I'll say is that the location or what is outside your window should dictate your style to a certain extent. A ski resort near the beach, a farmhouse in the city, or a beach-style home in a landlocked area doesn't really work for me. But a contemporary kitchen in a European city apartment block works because it just makes sense for the life we live today. Of course, modern living also comes with its own challenges, like unexpected blackouts and the rise of electricity cost. That is where the EcoFlow Delta Pro 3 portable power station, the best made for your home power independence, comes in. It is an eco-friendly and reliable energy solution that powers essential appliances like air conditioners, fridges, and even Wi-Fi, ensuring your home stays comfortable and your life continues no matter the circumstances. I ran a little test during a simulated blackout, plugging in both a portable AC and a freezer to see how it will perform. And it powered them effortlessly for hours, which you can see here on the screen. With a 4000 watt output and a massive 4 kilowatt hour capacity, it can handle pretty much anything at home and can also function as a UPS with its 10 millisecond switchover to protect sensitive electronics like NAS or personal computers. There's also no setup required. It's pretty much plug and play straight out of the box. You can connect it to the EcoFlow app, which lets you monitor everything right from your phone. It has a really nice interface that shows your energy consumption. It can act as a remote control and also has some really cool energy saving features. For example, you can set it to charge overnight when electricity rates are lower and then use it during the day to cut down on your energy cost. Perfect if your area has time of use rates. There's also plenty of charging ports at the back to meet all of your charging needs, and various outlets including USB-A and C on the front, a CEE outlet, and many more. And here's the best part, it is whisper quiet, super sleek, and easy to move around thanks to the handle and built-in wheels. So if you want to stay cool this summer when the power goes out, the Delta Pro 3 has your back. Plus, it comes with a 5-year warranty. You can find the Delta Pro 3 from retailers like Anaconda and Harvey Norman, or order it online through the EcoFlow Australia website, eBay, and Amazon, all linked in the description box below. What really is the secret here is respecting the bones of your home and being creative with what you add to it while thinking about your home's overall context. I hate it when people buy a house in a certain style and then gut it out and force it to be something else. So, to answer your question, Should the style of your home dictate what is inside it? Yes, it can, but it doesn't have to totally. Here's how I think you should be approaching it. Whether you decide to completely stick to the architectural style of your home or mix new and old aspects, you need to make sure that there's a unifying theme or motive. That might be a recurring color, pattern, or material. If you're not sure what I mean, check out this beautifully modernized 1924 home in Minnesota. Here, they've used mixed metal accents as a unifying motif throughout their space. See how they've used contemporary gold picture frames in the entryway that echo the classic metal poles on the bathroom vanities, kitchen island, and built-in cabinetry in the dining area. They even incorporated a classic-shaped gold faucet in the kitchen. By consistently repeating this metallic finish across both vintage and modern elements, they've created a cohesive environment that feels both fresh and respectful of its history. Color and style is another easy way to do this. Like in this 1901 Park Slope townhouse, they've used furniture and art that is modern and contemporary, in rich colors like blues, greens, and reds. Now, they've kept a theme here where the furniture is not hard edge, in order to balance that feeling of being modern but still respecting the historic architecture. And notice on the left wall they've added in quite a modern portrait with bright blues and aquas, and framed it in a classic gold frame, again seamlessly blending old and new. To add to that, all of the original features like inlay wood floors, crown moldings, windows, and woodwork are preserved beautifully. New permanent finishes like the floor in the entry or the tiles in the kitchen are inspired by the home's existing features like the front door's iron grillwork and the shell pattern stained glass windows. What you've hopefully noticed in both of these spaces is that they haven't themed the furniture to the architecture. While you can do this and it is totally fine if you do want a classic furniture in a classic space, I just wanted to point out that maintaining a central theme doesn't have to mean thematic furniture that matches your architecture to the T. Say, you don't have to buy a Spanish-style sofa just because you have a Mediterranean home. One that leans more Mediterranean in style can work just as well. Furniture and decor doesn't have to be what would be typical for the house. It just has to look like it isn't fighting with the house. Scandinavian furniture and decor would probably work well in a Cape Cod style home. Put simply, lean towards a style more based on the architecture, but you don't have to fall into it. If you're not sure what should form the basis of your theme, try to identify some of the existing features of your house that you like and work from there. Perhaps you have a 1920s house with a lovely trim that is painted in a certain color and you decide to pick up on that color elsewhere in your decor. Or maybe you have a mid-century home and decide to pick up on the timber details. It could be a detailed fabric pattern on a cushion. Now, if you're having a hard time picking out certain features, then look at the style of the house and what people might consider typical for that style and pick things from there to work with. There's a big difference between placing a different style of decor on the interior to stripping everything inside and erasing a home's identity. The latter is the one you need to avoid. Unfortunately, this has to be said because it is so commonly done. Here's a not so good example of one completely stripped down to a basic farmhouse. I think one reason why so many people think their home style must dictate the interior design is that they're scared they'll create a clashing aesthetic. But I'd like you all to come away from this video not afraid of celebrating contrast. Don't shy away from placing a modern glass table next to a Victorian-era sofa. Celebrate that juxtaposition. It is these unexpected pairings that create the most visually appealing spaces. Europeans tend to do this very well by mixing very old and very modern stuff. And while I do encourage contrast, I don't want you to forget that its success does come back to that central theme idea with colors and materials so it's all cohesive. Let's take a look at the bathroom in this Victorian brownstone home. The gold shower head and taps are quite traditional, in line with the Victorian style, but the shower door is a sleek matte black with fluted glass and is super contemporary. Zooming out to the rest of the house, I think this is a great modern interpretation. Everything that is worth saving, like the grand staircase, fireplace, trim, and molding is preserved. New additions like the wall kitchen, oak herringbone floors, unlacquered brass, and all the modern touches make it practical for today's living. When it comes to contrast, it can be quite helpful to use that 80-20 rule. Pretty much one style should dominate around 80% and the other should only be 20%. Here's an example of a traditional room, probably 19th century, juxtaposed with a mid-century style chair, contemporary rock and artwork, but the rest is traditional. Now, you don't have to stick to this rule too strictly. It is not supposed to be maths. You can also do 90-10 or 75-25. What it shouldn't be is 50-50. That is when your space can feel disjointed and mismatched. The only case where 50-50 works is when both styles have similar principles, like Japanese and Scandinavian design, which is why Japanese is so popular. Most of the time, keeping one style predominant is the way to go. If in doubt, try planning your design around the pieces that mean something to you. This key detail will turn your house into a home. Equally important, be careful of having literally everything from the same period. You don't want your house to feel like a museum. Permanent finishes are just that, permanent. Think tiles, countertops, cabinetry, joinery, and flooring. You get the picture. So, if you're worried about regretting or doing something wrong, then the safest thing to do is to choose forever finishes that reference the original style of your home. For example, go classic if it is an older home, or streamline or simple if it is a contemporary home. See how this 1890s St. Paul home has added in checkerboard tiles on their mudroom floor. It works so well because you'd expect to see a similar finish in that era of home, or this woodwork detail that really goes above and beyond. Look how they've used the same ornate circular motif from their gables and repeated it on their upper kitchen cabinets. Again, highly detailed craftsmanship that you'd expect to see in this era of home. Or let's go back to the Victorian brownstone home that has this herringbone flooring in the dining room. Again, something you'll expect to see in a home from that era. What I can't emphasize enough is the importance of spending time researching what permanent finishes would have been used in your home's era. Go deeper than just Googling. Do research at your local library or at your council. Go talk to homeowners in your street who have homes built in a similar era. Permanent finishes are the bones of your home, so work with them rather than against them. They don't have to be an exact match, but if they at least reference or give a nod to the original style, then they will look like they belong there. For example, if you have an English Tudor, you don't have to choose old world cross-handled faucets, but leaning classic will always work. If you have a Spanish bungalow, you don't have to go with patterned terracotta tiles, but any Zelish tiles in a color that speaks to you will likely work. This is a subtle yet effective way to stay true to your home. If you don't like this advice, remember, it is your home. You can actually do whatever you want. Another tip I have if you're going to change your permanent finishes is to avoid going too cheap on these finishes because that's what really dates a house. Now, I'm very cautious in saying this because I don't like unnecessary spending. But choosing the cheapest finish from a big box store that every builder or developer uses is not going to last. Also, if you're planning on replicating the period finish, research your builders in depth. You want someone who is actually going to be able to replicate the old design techniques, otherwise it would look fake or tacky. And my final tip about permanent finishes is about sourcing them. Now, if you're looking to replace authentic period pieces, head to your local timber yard. They'll have heaps of original features like doors, fireplaces, door handles, window frames, molding, etc. And they'll also likely be able to replicate any molding designs you bring in. Say, if some of the molding needs replacing, you can bring in a good piece and they'll make a timber mold for it so you can have them remade. If you've ever been in a period home, you've probably noticed that their layouts are totally different to what is usually built today. Modern homes tend to have an open plan layouts and more separation between living and sleeping spaces, while period homes, for example, Victorian homes, were built to host guests at the front and the kitchens and bathrooms were out at the back. They were planned for a totally different lifestyle. Unfortunately, if you do have an older home, you're going to have to spend a lot more time planning out your layout. But this isn't always a totally bad thing, as period homes tend to have interesting corners and alcoves which may be the perfect opportunity for some extra storage, a bookcase, or anything to hide the clutter of modern living in an interesting way. Bespoke joinery and furniture makers are often very clued up when it comes to things like this, so it may not be a bad idea finding a local company or tradesman to help you out. There's heaps of online tools like Guild of Master Craftsmen, My Builder, or House to find them. Whenever you're considering a new purchase, make sure that it meets the functional and practical needs first. That is height, width, depth, the right amount of storage, and etc. And then look for a style that complements your home. But if you find something that ticks all the functional aspects and it just resonates with you, Don't let the fact that it doesn't match the style of your house deter you from getting it. For instance, you might find a modern armchair that fits perfectly in your Victorian home because it's comfortable and fits the room's proportions. Just because it doesn't match the period exactly does not mean it doesn't belong. As I mentioned earlier, a little contrast can be refreshing. Plus, isn't it great to have something in your house that you love looking at or enjoy using? Now, if you're still in doubt, try planning your design around pieces that mean something to you. This is what will turn your house into a home. If you enjoyed this video, check out this one on how to update your dated home without remodeling, or this one on how to design a timeless home. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.